My life had sucked the last 2 weeks. Living in the sewers, feeding off rats, I tried to piece my former life together. I only scored one lead to my past. And wouldn't you know, the potential keeper to my life's secrets just had to be named Chad. Chad was a 6-foot dirty blonde in his mid-30s, with heavy acne scars and bad breath. No, never mind that I was hardly the picture of good hygiene. With all I'd been through the past 2 weeks, this was the closest thing I'd had to a shower. Wiping away the spittle that was rapidly cooling against my cheek, I didn't bother to hide my expression of disgust. My other hand tightened around his throat. A dainty squeak popped out of Chad. His bulging eyeballs flicked south to confirm he was indeed a foot off the ground, his feet dangling like a rag doll's. Okay, so my newfound undead existence came with a few cool perks. We stood out back of the bar he frequented, the Hairy Harbinger. Chad had stepped out for a smoke, and that's when I cornered him. No one was likely to hear his yells over the pounding classic rock and raucous slot machines coming from inside. "Come on, Chad," I purred. "Don't be like that. You were there the night that girl was murdered."
"What are you talking about?"
he rasped, still trying to pry my fingers off his throat with no success. The guy seemed more defensive than confused by my presence. There had been no spark of recognition in his eye when I showed up, which made him an even less likely suspect for my murder. "I'm talking about the girl who was found with her throat ripped out. You were spotted on the scene." I jerked my head in the direction of the alley 2 blocks over.
"I told the cops what happened. They let me go,"
he protested. Resentment simmered in Chad's eyes. Chad wasn't the brightest bulb in the vanity. I lowered Chad so his feet touched the ground, but I kept my grip tight. At the prospect he might get loose and run, a thrill went through me. I blamed the fast thrum of his veins under my palm. His blood was distracting, tantalizing, and despite his ugly mug, arousal curled in my belly. I recoiled at the thought. Not for him. Ew. His blood sang to me. I suppressed a shiver. It was risky to be this close to a human when I barely got enough vermin blood to stay sane. But I had to track down the truth, find out what happened to me. "Yeah, well, I ain't the cops, so tell me what happened." I gave him a shake, hard enough to leave his teeth rattling. Before leaving the morgue, I'd managed to locate and read my file before I stole a lab coat and hightailed it out of there. In the manila envelope were pictures of my body. My limbs were splayed out at awkward angles, my lips bluish-gray, eyes wide and empty. I was wearing a little black dress and heeled boots, but there was no trace of a purse, phone, or any form of ID. There was a note attached that it was a possible mugging, but the wounds looked like they were inflicted by an animal. I was tempted to grab a pen and write in "vampire attack" next to the original note. The coroner had also tried to run my fingerprints, but the scanner errored out. I'd examined the pads of my fingers, finding they were unusually smooth. Too smooth. As far as the coroner was concerned, I was still a Jane Doe. Ugh, what a lame name. I was tempted to grab the pen a second time to write in a better one. But the most important thing I'd gleaned was the location where my body had been found. I resorted to hanging around that very alleyway, looking for clues, when I picked up bits of conversation from a couple guys smoking outside a bar around the corner. The Hairy Harbinger. The place was a dark hole in the wall that stank of weak beer and vomit. After 2 weeks of hanging around to see if Chad would show up, I finally approached one of the smokers. For the low price of $250, he would coax Chad back out. I'd managed to get the dough, and now that I had the sole lead to my past in my hands, it was worth it.